What's going on, Fin fans? Brand new episode of Fins Up Talk. Today is February 4th. Man, time flies. We're already in February. As always, guys, Fins Up Talk for the fans, by the fans, to the fans. Another exciting episode. So I believe now, Chad, we have a full coaching staff. Please
Yeah,
correct me if I'm
man.
wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I saw today. Well, first of all, what's up, Juan?
Hey,
Thank you for impromptu. For the audience, I hit Juan with the little curveball today. I was like, hey man, tomorrow's not looking great. We are on a 2 hour time difference, and I'm like, dude, I know it's 11:40 where you're at, but can you log on? And my boy said, let's go. So we're freestyling. But it's always good to see your face, man. The prayer was powerful before, so thank you for blessing me with that, man. But you're right. The coaching staff is, for the most part, full. However, something interesting happened. I don't know if you saw it, one. Who is the quarterback coach that we were all so worried about and we were so frustrated
oh
with?
my God, dude, that Nathaniel Hackett.
Yes,
That,
sir.
dude.
So, for the audience, we talked about how he's the quarterback coach. He's not the OC. He's not calling plays. He's the quarterback coach. We talked about the long list of literal players that he has coached, Nathaniel Hackett. And we actually looked at it as like, man, this actually isn't a bad thing. Like, he's going to know the room, he has experience. Well, apparently, the league thinks the same way because welcome Nathaniel Hackett as the new OC for out here in the desert for the Arizona Cardinals. Now, I'll say this. Nathaniel Hackett's not going to call plays in Arizona because they hired Mike LaFleur, who is going to end up being he's the head coach, but he's going to be the play caller as well. But the title is greater and he'll have more involvement than taking a step back. This was a major step back for Nathaniel Hackett. He was a head coach, then an OC, and then an OC, then an OC, and then he's going to be a quarterback coach. So I'm curious to see who we're going to bring in. But again, I just think it's funny, Juan, because we were literally saying, like, you guys, he's a quarterback coach. And then apparently he was good enough to go be the OC somewhere else. So what are your thoughts on that first off?
Dude, you hit the head on the nail. I couldn't help last podcast. I was cracking up because I think you were speaking for a lot of us, Chad, when you were saying, hey guys, take a step back. I think everybody just over exaggerated this hire. He
Mm-hmm.
is the quarterback coach. And
Mm-hmm.
initially I was one of those people, but then I took a step back and I said, dude, what is this guy like? I mean, really, like he'll bring that 20 plus year of coaching, NFL
Yep.
coaching experience
Yep.
to the table, but he's not going to call any plays. I mean,
Nope.
we could take that step back, right? So
Yeah.
as you were talking, I couldn't help but to laugh because I did see a lot of comments, Chad. I saw a lot of comments in Reddit. I saw a lot of comments in YouTube, and I know a lot of comments in X. People did not like the hire, but it is a quarterback coach, people. So I
Yeah.
thought you were spot on, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. And look, we're not in no way, shape, or form are we saying that that's a meaningless position. That's the most important position of all of sports. But like, he's experienced. He coached Aaron Rodgers. Like, he was coached. I mean, I know he wasn't great while he was there, but he coached Russell Wilson. Like, he had time with good quarterbacks that he has the experience. And again, he's teaching mechanics. He's teaching footwork. He's teaching what to look at. He's not calling the plays. So I'm curious to see who we bring in. I'm sure Jeff Halfley has a plan, but at least for the most part, most of our staff is full. I believe we now have a quarterback coach we need to hire. We haven't officially named a tight ends coach because we're not bringing back John Embry. We do have um, Austin Clark coming back, the D line coach, was I was really excited about that. But the main coordinators, so our OC, our DC, and our special teams coordinators are in. And I'm going to say the three of their names. I want to get your quick overview on it, Juan. I'll give you my thoughts. But we have our DC, Sean Duggan, who's 32 years old. He's the crazy thing, he's literally younger than we are. And he's not going to be calling plays, but he's going to be, as Jeff Halfley said today in the press conference, he's going to be the one that's going to be the defensive coordinator in the offseason so that Jeff can be the head coach and focus on all three phases of the game. And then once season starts, it'll allow Jeff to still go back, call defense and not have to stress as much. And then we have Bobby Slowick, who obviously he's very familiar with us. You know, we had him for a year. He talked a lot today about aggression and about being multiple and having shifts and even bringing up old film from when Lawrence Taylor played and there being three shifts there. I know everyone likes to think the Dolphins came up with the motion, but people, We didn't. It's been happening forever. And then our last coach, the coach with actual like long-standing experience, the one I think has been getting applauded the most is Chris Tabor from Buffalo. Something I thought was really dope, and I talked about this in our last pod. One, we took one of the best special teams coaches from the division. We took him from Buffalo, so he knows how to play and scheme and coach in the cold. And third, the amount of experience the guy has in general in football. Jeff Hafley talked about him today, which, dude, shout out to Jeff Hafley for coming up
Yeah.
to the podium today and literally doing a speech before his coaches went on. Like, the dude just commands a room. And he said, I had all these names ready to go for a special teams coordinator. Well, then Sean McDermott got fired, and then it ended up happening that Chris Tabor had an option. He goes, I didn't care who I had on list. I had to have him. So I long-winded that one, but tell me your thoughts, brother.
Yeah, no, I agree. So, I mean, it's interesting. You pointed out the defensive coordinator. He is younger than us, but I
Mhm.
think that's great. I think back to the Miami Hurricanes. We're Hurricanes fans.
Yep.
And who's that defensive coordinator? Young guy, early 2000s. We hired him from, was it Rutgers?
No,
Greg
man.
Schiano,
Greg Schiano, baby.
right? So a young
Yep.
guy bringing up some new ideas. Now, he was the defensive coordinator at the time. He was
Yep.
calling the shots.
Yep.
But so Halfley is going to be that guy. But it's good that
Yep.
you're bringing in somebody young, some new ideas, throw in some wrinkles, and learn
Yeah.
from Halfley. I really, really, really like that. It's better than getting a dinosaur out there just trying to, overstep Halfley.
Yep.
So I really like that for the offensive coordinator. I'm hoping that we see something similar that we saw with McDaniel because I really did like our offensive scheme. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we didn't invent the motion, but Chad,
Yeah.
it was to me it was exciting. It
Yeah.
was a very exciting offense that surf and what's it called, surf and surf. I'm
No,
not
it
doing
was
here.
the
I'm
it was
hungry.
the greatest show on surf.
Yeah, my bad, dude. I'm
Yeah.
thinking about.
It's late. It's late.
I'm hungry right now. You can
He's
tell.
a surfer turkey. My brother wanted some fish chip or what? Some fish and chips and a steak.
Fish and chips. Hey. But I mean, in all seriousness, man. I mean, I'm excited. We'll see what he brings. But he did learn from Mike McDaniel, which I think was one of the greatest offensive minds that we've had here in Miami.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that. See what he brings, and then of course you can't the special teams coordinator.
Chris.
You can't underestimate the importance of special teams for
Yep.
a team. I mean, we seen it in the Super Bowl before. New Orleans, that onside kick against
Indianapolis.
against the Colts, right? I know the rules have changed, but still,
Yeah.
man, you could throw in your wrinkles here and there. So, very excited to have somebody like him.
Yeah.
And overall, I'm happy.
Yeah.
I like what we got.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I don't know if I mentioned this to you offline, off the pod, or in one of our pods. Notice the amount of college experience that our coaches that we brought in. So those three, and then you have because Duggan, he coached at Boston College with Halfley, and then Bobby Slowick, he also coached in college. And then you have our DB's coach, our offensive line coach, because he was at Kentucky. Our DB's coach obviously was at the Hurricanes for a little bit. Our linebackers coach comes from Missouri. Our assistant defensive line coach comes, I think, from another school. Like I saw this thing. I don't know. So I apologize for not being able to give the credit to whoever put it on X. It might have been Chris Kaufman, but he said there's like 93 years of combined college experience and like 20 something years of NFL experience, and most of that is Chris Tabor. Like that should show you we're about to embark on a huge youth movement. I know everyone right now is talking like, well, Bobby Slowick didn't exactly say Tua's not coming back, and they do want to bring back Bradley Chubb back, and all of these other things. And again, I'm not trying to minimize that, but how many times have we heard these coaches talk about building this the right way, going back to the draft? We obviously didn't get the comp picks for Anthony Weaver. He's the DC over at Baltimore. So that sucks. The rumor has it is we're not going to get a compensatory pick for Javon Holland because we played too much Nick Westbrook-Akine and we played too much of Ifu Melifonwu, and that like structure made it so that we're not going to. So as of right now, we have 8 guaranteed picks. If there's a star at 11, I believe we stick and pick. If there's an opportunity to trade down, I believe we collect more assets. And when you have a young team, which we do, last year we literally rolled out 3 rookie defensive tackles. We rolled out a safety that was also a rookie. We rolled out a quarterback who was a rookie. We rolled out a left guard, or I should say a guard that went to the other side of left guard in Jonas Avainaya, and they all got a lot of snaps. And then the year before that, that was the Chop Robinson, Pat Paul draft. So we have a young team already. We're going to literally restock this roster with more young players. What better yet than to have a bunch of assistant coaches that come from that college background that can really connect with these players? And almost one like, why were the Hurricanes so good? Because they played as a unit. Why was Indiana so good? Because they played as a unit. I feel like, and John Eric Sullivan said this in one of his pressers. He said, if you bring in a bunch of mercenaries, you're going to have a team full of guys that don't care about each other and they just care about themselves. But if you bring in a college atmosphere, brother, how many times have we seen less talented team win football games because they played as one? So I think bringing in this coaching staff, like they are going to be charged up. They're not going to accept laziness, tardiness. They're going to almost bring in that like, we are a brotherhood and we're going to stick together. So like, dude, I know I went off, but man, like that gets me juiced, bro.
Yeah, no, I think it's very important. I mean, audience, look, me and Chad, we talked about how many times are we going to hear the word culture in the press conference with Halfley. And we were joking, somewhat joking at the time, but I think it's very important because with McDaniel, as much as I like the guy and I wanted to defend him at every corner, even when he didn't deserve it, the culture came from players from the outside, not players that we drafted. I mean, when you think about the defense, Brooks was the guy, right? Removing the ping pong table, getting in everybody's face. On the offensive side of the ball, it was Teron Armstead. It wasn't anybody that he drafted that you could point to and say, hey, this is the guy that, McDaniel's guy. Yeah. And I think that's the telling of a good coach. So I'm very excited for that when it comes to Halfley because I do think that he's a culture builder. And I know we talked about it in a previous podcast, but you liked some of the character that we had from this last draft with Grant and the Polynesian offensive guard. I don't want to butcher his name here.
Jonas Savaiinaia.
Savaiinaia. Okay.
Savaiinaia, yeah.
Savaiinaia. Okay. Hopefully I said it right.
You did.
So we want to build on that. We want to make sure that they're bringing the culture that Halfley wants to establish with this team. And I think that they will.
I agree.
So I'm very excited about that, Chad. I'm very excited about developing the players. I sent you something that I know you had seen previously. The Dolphins had the least amount of – you know where I'm going with this, right?
Yeah.
The least amount of players start from their draft selections. Am I saying this right? I'm losing my brain of thought here.
From 2022 till now, the players drafted by every team, all 32 teams were polled. Like how many players that were drafted started. So let's do an example, Juan. So Jonas Avainaya, he played 17 games last year. So that's 17 for one season, but that gets added into the 5-year sample, 22, 23, 24, 25, I guess 4-year sample. So that's 17 from Jonas Avainaya. We were at 100 and I believe 22 or 132. We were 32nd. Green Bay was number 1 with like 500 and something.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So we were drafting guys and not playing. And so the numbers were so stark, one, that the 31st team had like 30 more starts than we did. So, audience, to make this incredibly simple, based off of all the players that we've drafted in 22, 23, 24, and 25, so 4 years, of those 4 years, we only had 120 starts cumulatively. Again, the top team, the Green Bay Packers, which praise Jesus that we have their front office with us now. They had 500 and something. They had 5 times the amount that we did. So we went from a team that was like drafting badly and just starting them to saying F them picks and trading and just trading draft picks for stars and then signing guys and rolling them out. And you wonder why we have a development problem and why we're in cap hell with nothing to show for other than that we drafted. I'm going to strictly off what we drafted. We have Pat Paul, Jalen Waddle, Devon Achane. You can say Kenneth Grant, but when I say stars or like franchise players, those are our 3 players that we drafted. Some people could say Minka because we drafted him, but then we traded him and traded back for him. So I'm just counting the ones that we literally drafted, developed, and their cornerstone pieces. Devon Achane, Jalen Waddle, Pat Paul.
That is telling right there. And not just that, but some of the draft picks that hit that we decided not to re-sign. We re-signed the wrong players. I mean, just off the top of my mind, right? This is all improv, guys. You know, you got Van Ginkel.
Yep.
You got Robert Hunt.
Yep.
You got Wilkins, which I know he had that whole issue of him, kissing
Getting
her.
hurt.
Getting hurt. Sorry. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, the Raiders, he also did. That's right, dude. He did. Rumor has it.
Right? So,
yeah.
that whole situation, whatever he was dealing with over there. Holland as well.
Javon Holland. Brandon Jones went to Denver.
Brandon Jones went to
balled
Denver.
Out. Yeah.
We re-signed the wrong guys. So not only did we not hit with a lot of draft picks, but the draft picks that we did hit on, we didn't re-sign them. I mean, everything that could go wrong went wrong with this front office. So it just makes sense to go in the complete opposite direction, Chad. So if we were last, let's go and poach whoever number one was, and we got that whole Green Bay front office over here. Well, not the whole front office, but, we got a lot of those guys. So very excited for that, man.
Yeah, dude, I'm so excited. That's such a good point that you brought that up on. Like, I'm so excited to get to a point where we're getting the benefit of the doubt and drafting these players, watching them grow, and then retaining them and getting a hometown discount because everybody knows the contract may look like, let's do an example. We offered Robert Hunt, I believe it was the highest we went was like 17 million. And he said no, but it's because we did it a year too late. He went in the open market and he signed a 25 million a year deal. He got a 4-year, $100 million contract. It was either 4-year, $100 million or 4-year or 5-year, $100 million. Either way, it was $100 million and he's getting 20 plus annually. Had he signed with us and we offered him 16, 17 off the rip, we would have got him for 8 million a year less. But because we let him go to free agency, well, free agency has the premium. Then you get the bad teams that have a bunch of cap space, like the Titans this year. They are drafting top 5. They have $100 million plus in cap space. Last year, the Patriots, they drafted top 3 or 5. I can't remember what it was. Maybe it was 3 because I think they took Drake May. Because they were 5. We talked about this. Were they had 4 wins or 5 wins?
They had 4 wins.
4 wins. So back-to-back years, they had 4 wins. I believe they drafted in top 3 each year. They had the most money, then they went and signed free agents. That's what happens. So these players that normally would have came to us that we could have kept in-house, got for 17 mil a year, they're going and getting 25 plus mil a year. We're a year too late. Something I'll give props to Finside the NFL with Reason over there. Him and Neil Driscoll, they talk a lot about Chris Greer's inability to read the market and to be a year too late. That's how you lose a Jarvis Landry. That's how you end up trading a Laramie Tunsil. That's how you lose an Andrew Van Ginkel. That's how you lose a Rob Hunt, a Christian Wilkins, a Brandon Jones. Like, that's how you lose players that you drafted, developed, and then didn't retain. And I have this feeling that John Eric Sully, is literally going to do the exact opposite. He's going to draft. They're going to miss. Like, you're going to miss. You're not going to be 100%. But the players that we do hit on, they're going to be retained. And that's what I'm excited about because if we draft in volume, so if we can turn our 8 picks into 10 picks, we have a better likelihood, and you and I talked about this in a prior pod, of hitting on these players. And Juan, if you look back, Chris Greer got fed off of that draft where he drafted Jalen Waddle, Jalen Phillips. Oh, that's another one. We didn't retain Jalen Phillips. So
Right.
Jalen Waddle, Jalen Phillips, Rob Hunt, and Javon Holland. Like he ate off of that because that's four impact players. Well, the Saints did that when they did the Kamara draft and they had like I believe it was Cesar Ruiz and
Oh
like
my God, that was an
Marshawn
amazing
Lattimore.
draft. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
like
killed it. They killed
they
it.
killed it.
Yeah.
But we need to be drafting more consecutively players and then supplementing the roster with guys like Jordan Brooks and Aaron Brewer. Now, what's great is we have those guys in house. There, it makes no sense not to retain them. So we're in no way, shape, or form we saying we shouldn't retain guys that we didn't draft if they hit. Like we signed Terrence Marshall Jr. today. Dude, I had to a futures contract. I had a second round grade on him coming out of LSU. He was the forgotten receiver. It was Jamar
Yeah.
Chase, Justin Jefferson, Terrence Marshall, but Terrence Marshall balled out. He just situation. But what I loved about that one, and I know I'm jumping around a little bit, what I loved
No, no.
about that is it showed us the prototype and what we're looking for. Terrence Marshall Jr. 6'2", 220. We need size in this room. If that's any indicator of what we're going to start building, I know we have smaller guys like Jalen Waddle and Devon Achane and they're exceptions, but we need to build a bigger, stronger, faster team. And I think, I'm saying think, based off of what we've seen action wise, this feels like the direction they're going. And if we can hit on a couple of lottery tickets, why not?
Yeah. No, I mean, you said something there, chat, that really got me thinking. So I think of these other teams, right? Because we're talking about player retention right now.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to have that player like that Dan Marino, right? The face of the franchise. Obviously, I'm saying Dan Marino, he's the quarterback. Ideally,
Yeah.
it is the quarterback, but it could be any position where they play for the Dolphins long term, and that's your Hall of Fame guy. You know, when he goes to the Hall of Fame, he's going to be wearing that Dolphins
gold jacket.
logo, like
Yeah.
gold jacket, and he's going to represent the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
Now, maybe Mike Pouncey could be the guy now that I'm saying this, but since 2012, right, or 2010, around that range, can you think of any Miami Dolphin that you could point to and say, man, this guy's been with us long term, and he's a future Hall of Famer, and he's going to go in as a Miami Dolphin? Does anybody come to mind?
Two names. Rashad Jones, but I don't think his career was long enough. Xavier Howard.
Xavier Howard.
But
You got me there. Because
yeah,
I was
but
thinking, I was like, man, like even the Browns of Myles Garrett, like
that's a good
every team.
maybe if we would have kept him here, Laramie Tunsil had a chance.
Yeah.
If Minka Fitzpatrick would have been here the whole time, maybe he had a chance.
Well, that's my point, right?
Yeah.
Retaining the players that
Yeah,
if
fair.
they stay here long term, where
Yeah.
you say, hey, this guy, he's a Miami Dolphin. He's going to represent the Miami Dolphins going into the Hall of Fame. You had that before. You had that even when we
Jason
didn't have Marino,
Taylor, Zach
Jason
Thomas.
Taylor, Zach Thomas. Right?
Yeah.
Those were, when you thought of the Dolphins, those were names that came to mind. When you think of the Dolphins now, they're thought of for all the wrong reasons. You're thinking about Tyreek Hill. And,
Yeah.
I mean, let's call a spade a spade. Tyreek Hill, he's a great player, the cheetah, difference maker, but it's not a guy that you want to be the face of the franchise.
No.
He's not dependable.
No.
Yeah, he goes out there and plays with a hurt wrist, but dude, when you miss practice, when you say some of the stuff that he say at the end of the year, you're not a leader, man.
No.
You're not. So,
No.
to your point, drafting those players, but more importantly than that, when you do hit retaining those players,
Yeah.
I think that's even more important.
I agree.
So I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful with this new GM.
I like. Oh, I love where you're going because I'm like trying to go in 100 different areas right now, but like we're draft guys too. And again, I hate it because we're draft guys because our team's been bad for so long. I think of like, what would a Jarvis Landry have done for this team?
Man, that is all heart, all effort, dude. When you have somebody like that on your side,
Yeah.
you said it before, Matt. These are the gladiators of our time. When you see
Yeah,
somebody,
modern day gladiators.
yeah, man, that's your star player, and you see him going all out in practice. I know he got they were making fun of him when he was over there in the Browns when talking about practice.
Yeah, what
Right.
did he say? He's like, you gotta care about it, bro. Or he said something. He was like, because he was in the receiver room, right? It was on the Hard Knocks episode, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What was, let me see, Jarvis Landry. He literally said, Browns, Hard Knocks. He literally said something because he kept saying, "Come on, bruh."
Yeah, it's he dedicated, man. When you have a star player like that, the team they feed off of it.
Yeah, I can't remember what he said. I see it right here, but it's obviously not letting me pull it up. Let me see.
Man, I wish we could find. Oh, I can hear it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what he says. It's contagious, bruh.
It's contagious. It's
Contagious. That's what it is.
contagious. Hey,
Yeah.
man, practice. It's important, right? That's what the Hurricanes of old talked about in Green Tree.
Yeah.
That's how you get good, man. You got to be out there. You got to be practicing, right? It doesn't matter how talented you are. And the Dolphins this past season, when you have somebody like Tyreek Hill that you want to make the leader, it's just not a good indicator of this team is in the right place. And it
Yeah.
showed. It
I
showed.
agree.
So I'm hoping that we continue to draft the right guys. And it hurts that we didn't keep somebody like Jarvis Landry because, dude, he wasn't the Jamar Chase. He wasn't
Yeah.
the Justin Jefferson. But,
Yep.
dude, that is entertainment right there. Only one team
Yeah.
could win, Chad. There's only one team that could win the Super Bowl. But as a fan, for the
Yes.
cost of going to these games, watching these games, takes away from family. This is a hobby for us,
Yeah.
but it's a fun hobby, right?
Yeah.
And we enjoy ourselves. You
Yeah.
want to see players that give it their all.
Yeah.
We understand they're not always going to win unless you're the 1972 Dolphins.
Come on.
But you want to be entertained. You want to see people putting it all out there. And Jarvis Landry, you just knew something special was going to happen when that man was on the field. So even
Yeah.
if we lost, I was in awe just watching that guy play.
Yeah.
Hoping somebody like that comes around again for us.
I agree with everything you say. I'll use a practical example. I play rec league volleyball, sand volleyball, right? First and foremost. I always like to say, oh, it's rec league. I don't really care. But dude, the second I get in the sand, I'm ready to go. We practice, right? We practice for games, before games and this and that. I'm in the camp that if I'm going to be out there, I'm going to practice. And what's the old saying? You practice how you play.
Yep.
I have teammates that don't necessarily agree. So like I'm out here diving and doing this because to me, I'm like, well, I'm going to do that in the game. So I need to do it in practice to learn how to get better. So I'm over here playing rec league volleyball and I'm putting it on the line because for me, I want to be the best for my teammates. And the way to be the best is to practice. I want to practice so hard that the games are easy. Right. And this is just rec league I'm not getting paid for. If I get injured, Juan, I gotta literally use my own insurance to get taken care of. Like, so when I think of that, I'm like, these are professional athletes that are getting paid millions of dollars to live out a childhood dream. And for some, I get it. Some it's just for the money. And look, dude, I said this in an earlier pod. We work for the money. Like,
Yeah.
I would not do our job if I wasn't getting paid for it. But
Right.
most of these guys grew up saying, I really want to play this game and I want to do this. And when you see the lack of effort, when you see the inability to focus in because you're not winning, because you're not losing, like, I don't care if the score is 45-0 and we're losing, put it out on the field. Because you never know, man. And something I loved that Jeff Hafley said in his press conference was, you want to know how tough our team is? Let's see the fourth quarter when we're losing and there's nothing to play for. I
Right.
still am going to see my players around the ball. I'm going to still see them pushing. I'm still going to see them grinding. And that's, you build it like that because even though you're not, and let's say we don't win a lot of games next year, which you and I talked about, that's probably the likelihood.
It's fine. Yeah.
But you're building the foundation so that the expectation is different. Literally, Bobby Sloag today said this about Devon Achane. He said, man, how do you feel about getting to coach him? He goes, you know what? That's one of the most detailed, toughest players I have. He goes, I watched him last year go 6 straight weeks without a mistake, and he made one mistake in that 6 week. In the 6 weeks, in the 6 entire weeks, one. He made one mistake, one, and all he could think about was the mistake. But he didn't let it affect his play. But he was so upset about the one mistake because he's a perfectionist.
Yeah.
Devon Achan took a step up in leadership last year because he realized, like, you know what? I'm that guy. He coined himself Himothy. He's like, I'm Himothy. Got the necklace, the chain, and all that and everything. But he literally said, I'm going to work so hard in practice that games look easy. So even when we were
Heck yeah.
overmatched, even when things weren't going the right way, Devon Achan was exciting. He was fun to watch. You knew you were getting effort for him where he's making dudes miss. He's literally getting to the second level. He's broken the second tackle, third tackle, fourth tackle, then outright and just going and going and going. I mean, I was at the Jets game. You remember this. I was at the Jets game. Nancy and I went. And dude had a major injury and he still came out and he was like, I can play. But we were up by so much he didn't have to, but he was ready to literally go if he had to. That's our version of Jarvis Landry, but the difference is Devon Achan is an elite athlete. Jarvis
Right.
wasn't. So you get the rare exception of a Devon Achan type of athlete that's an elite, top tier athlete, and he has effort. That's who you build around.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's who we need to retain, right? Aside
Yep.
from Brewer, aside from Brooks,
Yep.
it's even more special because we drafted him and we built I mean, the defense knew where the ball was going. And
Yep.
that man he was on a
Dog.
tear. So, I hope we continue to build around him. With football, I've seen a lot of athletes, right? I, grew up here in Miami, played against guys who made it to the NFL,
Yep.
D1. There's a lot of good players out there that never make it to the NFL. These guys are a special breed. And the athletic ability, people look at them sometimes outside of the NFL and they're like, man, this guy's not that big. Or, maybe I could have done that if I worked a little bit harder. What separates these guys from everybody else is the motor that they have. So when I see the fourth quarter, and I see players just hanging their head or not going hard, which credit to Mike McDaniel, I didn't see that often.
I
But
agree.
when you see something like that, it's something that they're doing, and it's not because they're tired. It's just because they just don't care, right?
Checked
Because
out.
that's what separates. They're checked out. Mentally, they're not there. And these guys are getting paid. They are getting paid living the childhood dream. So when I see that, I'm like, dude, why should I pay to go to these games? Why should I support these guys, right? And I want to be very careful with what I say because right now I'm confusing my history with and taking for granted the present. You are absolutely right. We do have that dog with Devon Achan. That is a special player right there.
Yep.
He is, 5'8"?
Yeah,
5
maybe.
foot.
I mean, I know he's listed at 5'9", 5'10", but I mean, maybe 5'8".
Dude, he does not play like it, man.
No,
And that is special right there, dude. You just cannot measure the dog in that guy's chest, bro. So, I hope we continue to build around him. And I trust Halfley, man. I really have a good feeling, Chad. And you know that I'm not a glass half full guy, right? I mean, I can be, but
yeah,
it's
you
the
lean more
Dolphins.
pessimistic typically. You're a little more pessimistic.
Lately, I have been.
Yeah,
I have
and I don't
been,
blame you. Juan, I don't blame you. I don't.
It sucks, but it's like, dude, this team got me to that point. It's just years of just hoping for things to be different, and it's so bad that we don't even suck. We're just average, which I think it's worse because at least when you suck, you just have that hope that you're gonna get that top 5 pick. But that's neither here nor there. So
yeah, I feel it.
I'm really optimistic, Chad. I think this season is going to be entertaining. I'm not saying we're going to make the playoffs. I have a good feeling that we're going to build that culture that we haven't had in many years now.
Let me give you an example of something you just finished on because I don't want to lose that. You said about we're average, so we're never drafting high enough to get the top 5 pick. Who are the top 5 quarterbacks in the league right now, if you had to say?
Top 5 quarterbacks. Okay. So let's say Patrick Mahomes.
Okay. He was the 10th pick.
10th pick. Let's say, man, I don't want to give this guy credit, bro.
Do
I
it.
just thought Drake
Do it.
May all of a sudden,
Yeah. He's a third pick.
Josh Allen.
He's a seventh pick.
So we got Josh Allen, we got Drake May, we got Patrick Mahomes,
Say the one that everyone wanted
Lamar
to come
Jackson,
here. 32nd pick.
32nd pick. So we got 4.
Yep.
And let's go to the 5th one. I am going to go with, I know he's hurt, but I mean, he's always hurt, but Joe Burrow.
Yeah,
what were you gonna say?
I'll give you that one. That one, he's
Okay.
the number one overall. I would say a quarterback I would love to have on our roster who came from Green Bay, Jordan Love. He was the 26th pick.
Okay.
Dak Prescott, who I would love him in a Dolphins jersey, was a 4th round pick. I mean, heck, Brock Purdy was the last pick in the draft. You have the number one overall picks. I mean, you have Kyler Murray, Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow, Bryce Young, Caleb Williams. Who else that's starting right now that was a number one overall pick? I mean, that's such a long list, bro. Because I'm trying to go through all of them. So Justin Herbert was the 6th pick. Geno Smith was a 2nd rounder. I'm going through the divisions right now. My point is, it's not, and you've heard me say this, it's not where you pick, it's who you pick. So, like, I agree, it sucks that we have, but dude, who's to say that we wouldn't have drafted Trevor Lawrence? That we wouldn't have drafted Kyler Murray? That we wouldn't have drafted Jamarcus Russell? Like, dude, we had the top overall pick and we took Jake Long over Matt Ryan.
No,
Like,
and to your point, right? So not necessarily that this is going to equate to us getting, Caleb Williams or, a successful early round.
Gotcha.
Early first round pick. It's just the fact that it's a tease, right? You're
It
never
is.
good enough to make it to the playoffs and win in the playoffs. You never suck bad enough to say, okay, well, we're going to get this guy. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to equate to, we're going to get that franchise quarterback. But it's just, you're kind of just there. You can't get over the hump, but you're not bad enough. And it's just always been a tease, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, we didn't get Matty Ice.
Didn't get Joe
We
Burrow.
had the opportunity. We didn't get Joe Burrow.
Yeah. I mean, bro, yeah. The answer is yeah. We didn't get Joe Flacco. We took Chad Henne instead. Like, we can go back over and over and over again. And I think that's like, we can keep saying it because here's the thing. We continue to recycle coaches like they're water bottles, right? Joe Philbin, Adam Gase, Brian Flores, Cam Cameron, Mike McDaniel. Like, we continue to recycle these coaches. We had Dan Campbell as an intern. We had all these ones. But the one thing that didn't change was our our front office. And more specifically, it was a Chris Greer thing. So we're really going to find out if it's a draft thing or if it's a coach thing. And again, I walk a fine line on this because I was applauding Chris Greer when he traded for Jalen Ramsey, when he traded for Tyreek Hill, when we signed Teron Armstead, when we traded for Bradley Chubb. Like, I was like, yes, continue to stock it up. Like, you're crushing it. And it didn't work. We got old and we got cheap. Or not cheap, we got old, and then because we're old, we got aged and injured and all these other things. So, like, I do give him props. Like, I wanted Jamar Chase or Devonta Smith. We took Jalen Waddle, and I don't feel like we give Jalen Waddle enough credit. I know he gets hurt a lot, but Jalen Waddle will get hurt and come back in. Jalen Waddle played the national championship on a broken ankle, shortly after. Like, I feel like Jalen Waddle is just an example of a player that is not utilized the way that he should have been utilized. And when we do utilize him, like, think about the games Tyreek didn't play. He had 100+ yards.
Yeah,
so, like, I'm excited to see what Jalen Waddle is going to be in the next couple years. I think those are the foundational pieces. I just think that we have a draft, develop, and retain problem. And to be honest with you, Juan, I don't know if we ever had an actual vision of what our team was going to be. I think I talked about this on one of our earliest pods or in a conversation with you. We had the plan where we signed Cedric Wilson as an FA. He was, like, supposed to be our number 2 receiver. Mike McDaniel, literally in his, like, that video of him flying in the plane, the private jet, they said, if you had to name a player, and he goes, Waddle, Waddle, Waddle. He had a whole plan for Jalen Waddle. And then a couple months go by, and then what happened? We traded for Tyreek. And I think that changed the entire scope of what Mike McDaniel wanted to do. And I think the problem with that is you have this envisioned idea of what your offense is going to look like. It's going to be multiple. You're going to run the ball. You're going to utilize spacing and play action and crossers with Jalen Waddle. You're going to have a bigger threat outside with Cedric Wilson. You're going to implement West Coast type schemes, but with motions and RPO to capitalize on Tua. Well, then you get Tyreek Hill. And then you're like, well, we got to target him 170 times plus a game or a year, because if we don't, then we don't get the opportunity cost in what we invested in him, which is a $30 million a year contract. And rightfully so, the dude got almost 1,800 yards 2 years in a row, but you came such Tyreek Hill centric that you didn't have balance. And I don't think that was the idea. And then when you had Joe Philbin, he didn't really know what he was doing. When you had Adam Gase, it was kind of all over the place. He had this offense built for Ryan Tannehill. And then what happened? Ryan Tannehill gets hurt. My point is, I think we're in an era now where you brought this up. You keep talking about why are other teams winning with backup quarterbacks? And it's because they create a system and they draft and bring in players for that system, Juan. We couldn't bring in another Tyreek Hill. But guess what the Packers did? They built a system around a quarterback that threw within the pocket but was mobile outside of the pocket. So they developed Jordan Love. And then who did they trade for, Juan? Malik Willis. And they didn't skip a beat. The Houston Texans, they built a team on timing and a quarterback that wins within the pocket. They have they have CJ Stroud, and they have your boy Davis Mills. They can both function the same. We kind of tried to do that this year with bringing in Quinn Ewers, who runs a similar offense to what Tua did. But the problem was you were so built on Tyreek that once Tyreek was out, you had to completely transform the offense and you weren't ready for it. So what I think is going to be nice about this is I believe Jeff Hafley and John Eric Sullivan are on the same page, and they're wanting to build a system. They're wanting to build an identity.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to bring in players that fit that. So that way, if a player does go down, the season's not over.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I agree with you, Chad. I'm very excited to see what Hafley brings to the table here. And I know we're nearing the end here, but I want to ask you, because you brought something up. You talked about assistant coaches that have gone on to other places and have had success.
Yeah.
What is your favorite assistant coach that is now a head coach that you look back and say, man, I wish that was the head coach right now for the Miami Dolphins?
We're going to have the same, because I saw your eyes light up, but I'm going to preface it by saying this. The asterisk on Dan Campbell is he wasn't ready. He needed to go to New Orleans. People say you can't say New Orleans. And he had to learn under Sean Payton for 5 years. He had to go through that. He had to learn that way. But I mean, it's obviously Dan Campbell. I know some people could say Todd Bowles. I know some might say Ben Johnson because they forget he was here.
Yeah. I'm leaning Ben Johnson. I mean, I know he wasn't ready. He was nowhere near ready.
No.
But I really liked what he did with the Bears. I mean, I know it's just one season, and the sample size, it's much larger with Dan Campbell, and he's a player's coach. Yeah. But I really, really think that the Bears are going to make some noise here going forward. So, I like Ben Johnson.
I mean, dude, when we were literally scrimmaging against them and we told them that they were being too aggressive, Ben Johnson, bro, he was literally calling Caleb Williams out, this heralded number 1 overall pick. He was pulling him from it, saying, you can't get it right, you're not going to do it. He challenged him. And the Bears got a lot of hassle for that. I bet you no one's saying that now, because at the end of the press conference, or the end of the year, literally Ben Johnson, who wasn't afraid to call out his quarterback, at the end of the year said, that guy's special. He does things that you can't coach. And then Caleb on the other side said, that's the best coach I've ever had. So again, clearly the tough love worked, and it was for the good. I just think that the missed opportunity was you retain a guy like that, you promote him and all of that. My question for you, Juan, before we close.
Yeah.
What's the plan at quarterback? Because everybody's talking about it.
So I'm hopeful that it's Malik Willis. Obviously, he would have to take less money.
Yep.
And people say, why do that? I mean, NFL means not for long, right?
Yep.
So it's a very short career for a lot of people, but he'll have the opportunity where if he performs,
Hmm.
we could give him that long-term contract. So
Yep.
there's the plus side to that. I mean, it's a long shot, but it's a realistic one.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm leaning. That or Davis Mills from the Texans.
Houston.
I would trade
Yeah.
for him. Yeah, I would trade for
Yeah.
him.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to go with what I've kind of been saying. I would sign a vet in Marcus Mariota, or I would try to get Sam Howell. And then I would draft Taylon Green or Drew Aller. Like, I believe both those players are toolsy. They're big, strong. Their arm is there. I know I keep mentioning Drew Aller, and I told you I normally don't go for this, but there's just something about him. He showed you can win in clutch games in the playoffs 2 years ago. He has the ability that is there. He has things that you can't coach. He is a ball of clay that I believe, funny enough, if Nathaniel Hackett was here, would be able to groom him for the next 2 to 3 years to get him to where he needs to, because he had that horrific ankle injury. But I just believe that this is a year where quarterback is not rich, that you can get a toolsy guy like a Taylon Green, a Drew Aller. And I don't know if you saw it, dude, but Garrett Nussmeier in the Senior Bowl was doing his thing. And it came out that he was playing all year injured at LSU. Now, again, he's not 6'4". He's not 230, 240. He's not going to throw the ball 60 yards on a rope. He's your 6'1",
Yeah,
205-pound dude, but he wins with anticipation. His dad is the offensive coordinator for the Saints. He's obviously not the play caller because that's Kellen Moore, but he comes from a background of football. So that's a guy that you take in the third round and you say, is there something there? That's a guy that I can see competing with Quinn, and then you kind of ride it out. It might be our version of Tyler Shuck. Who knows? But if it's
right.
me, I'm drafting a toolsy guy on day 3 or at the end of round 3, and then I'm signing a vet, and then having him, the vet, the rookie, and then Quinn Ewers battled out. Because we're too far gone to keep Tua, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think Tua's gone. Right, and
Yeah.
I'm 50% with you. When you say Taylor Green, I'm sold on him. And
Yeah.
audience, this is Chad wasn't talking about this just during the Senior Bowl when Taylor Green is, now being heard about. No, he's been saying this. So, want to give Chad his credit. But I am not an Aller guy.
Yeah. I don't blame you.
I just don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows? Because I've been wrong so many times. But I'm just gonna put it out there. I'm not
Yeah.
a fan of Aller.
Hey, I'm not a Trinidad guy, and that's your guy. You love Trinidad.
Trinidad Chambliss. So
Yeah.
I think the one we could both agree on, which is your guy, as well, would be Taylor. So
Yeah. Yeah. He's a dog.
I like his game. I like him a lot. And then with Nussmeier, he had this nut job for a coach over there at LSU. So that guy's
Ryan Kelly is a
piece of
I would have
doo-doo.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have loved to have seen Garrett Nussmeier with freaking Lane Kiffin. That would have been awesome.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
man.
that would have been great. No, I think it'd been awesome. But no, dude, I'm excited. As we're filling out this coaching staff, we're getting closer to, I think, the NFL Combine. I'm pretty sure it's the end of this month. Let me see. Combine date. It is February 22nd to March 2nd. So, dude, we have literally less than 3 weeks before the Combine. So it's going to come fast and heavy. And then NFL free agency is in March. So we're going to have plenty to talk about. I think what we'll start breaking down is, because free agency's first, we'll start talking about who we would like, knowing that we're not the free agency type of team anymore. But free agency opens up March 11th. So we'll have an idea of who's here, who's going to stay. I mean, there's some cool things that we'll have in the pipeline for you guys. But I'm super excited, Juan. Always excited with you, brother.
Awesome, man. Awesome, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Chad, thank you as always. Remember,
Yes,
guys, Jesus loves you. This is for the fans, by the fans, to the fans. Catch you guys on the next one.
Ends up. Later, guys.